Hi, this is Jay from BioHackly. On today's video, I'm going to show you how I set up my Longevity Resources hyperthermic chamber or steam sauna for ozone. This is very cool. Now, before I get into that, I want to show you that, well, no, first of all, actually, this is also going to be a testimonial video because I've actually had this unit for 1.5 years now. And I've made some notes here so I can make sure that I cover some things for those of you that are trying to purchase a sauna, or you're out kind of in the market looking for a sauna. I've done a lot of homework 1.5 years ago before I started this journey. I did about 3 or 4 months worth of homework and I read through all the forums and all the message boards. I learned a huge amount of stuff before I actually ended up with this Longevity Resources sauna. So there's a good reason for it. Now, the main reason is that the Longevity Resources sauna is quality and safety approved to CSA and UL standards by an independent laboratory called Quality Auditing Institute. That to me was actually the most important thing because we're dealing with, you know, water and electricity in the same unit like every sauna, and if it's not quality and safety approved, man, that's, I think you're just asking for trouble. And honestly, I think that Longevity Resources saunas are the only ones that are both quality and safety approved for both CSA and UL standards. So please make sure that you look into that, the verifications, the safety standards and that kind of stuff in anything you buy. It's really, really important. So that's number one. Secondly, check this out. Dual doors. I know, these guys are great because I really think they nailed it with this dual door thing. In the forums that I've gone in, the message boards, I've read nothing but problems with the ones with single doors. You know, the door is not that heavy, but if you all of a sudden had something twice the size, which is what happens when you have a single door, then you've got a problem because what I've read in there is that they end up, you know, they end up kind of, you know, kind of leaning or you know, not hanging properly after a while and not sealing properly because, you know, you've got this giant thing hanging off the side there. So, yeah. So basically, I think they really nailed it with this, and I haven't seen any others with the dual doors. The other thing is that they've actually got 3 hinges on each door, and they're really heavy duty. Like I could actually pick up this entire unit from the hinge. That's how strong they are. And as I said, I've had this for 1.5 years now. I've been using it almost every single day, and this thing still fits, works, and looks like it's brand new. I'm impressed. Anybody that sees this thing thinks I just bought it. Okay, next thing. The seat is super comfortable. It's a very ergonomic seat, as you can see by looking at it. It's very heavy duty, so you could actually have a very heavy person in there as well. And the seat has 10 levels of height adjustment. This is really important because you might have a short person in there, you might have a tall person in there. If you got somebody that's too tall, their shoulders might hit here. You need to be able to lower that, and if they're too short, their ears might be right here. You need to be able to have a neck sticking out enough you can wrap a towel around there. So in the case of the steam sauna, you're not letting any steam or heat out. In the case of the ozone sauna, you're not breathing any ozone. So seat height is very important. They've also got 4 steam vents, 2 in the back, which you can see on the video, and 2 in the front with the protective covering. I don't know. I'm looking at these. I've read something on the forum, one of the forums, about a girl that has one of these, not one of these things, one of the competitors with only 2 steam jets, and her feet feel like they're cold when her back's on fire. So they have really thought this thing out to the point where they've got circulation happening in here. So with the 4 jets, or the 4 vents, you've actually got proper circulation for the heat, for the steam, for the ozone and everything. So they've really, really thought this thing out. I'm in love with it. Really. It's been 1.5 years. I couldn't be any happier with this thing. It's just incredible. Now, these things are also not very wide. I actually roll this thing in and out myself to put it in here to shoot the video. There's wheels on the back. I just grab the back here, lift it up and roll it in, roll it out. So if you're in a clinical setting, it's ideal. Or even if you're in home, because I actually, I have it somewhere else when I do my saunas. I rolled it in here to do the video, but it's very, very easy to move it around. So that's another great feature of it. Now, the other thing is that it has a separate remote control. This is very cool because if I'm in there and I'm just having a steam sauna, let's say, and I'm in there for 20 minutes and maybe I want to stay in for an extra 5 minutes, or even if I'm having an ozone sauna, I don't, like a lot of the other ones actually have the remote controls on the outside of the unit. So if I want to add more time, if I'm in there relaxing and I'm feeling great and I just want to add another 5 minutes, with the other ones I actually have to get out, add time, and then get back in. With this one here, I can just put it somewhere where it's handy and I can just add an extra 5 minutes. So All I can say is they've really thought this through. Now, I also use this with ozone, and on the inside here you can see there's an ozone port right there which connects up over here. So let me tell you what I've got here. So this is my Longevity EXT120T Ultra ozone generator. This ozone generator they have a whole bunch of different models. Longevity's ozone generators are used by more medical doctors than any other ozone generators out there. Also, their client list is crazy. Let me just see if I can find their client list on here for you, because we're talking everybody from NASA to Brookhaven National Laboratories to MIT to Boeing to Carl Zeiss Lens to Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School. I mean, just to name a few. I mean, almost everybody uses Longevity Resources ozone generators. They're also made in North America. Hello. Most of them are not. Most of them are made in China. The problem with the ones made in China are that quite often they'll use inferior parts, and ozone is destructive, and so with the wrong material, and if you're not using the proper silicone or something inside there, eventually it's going to eat it away, and whatever particles are coming from that are going to be pushed out with the ozone, and you're going to be absorbing that. So it's really, really important to get a high quality ozone generator, and I don't think you'll find a better one than this one from Longevity Resources. Now, the tank beside this is my oxygen tank. It's filled with food grade oxygen. I have a higher quality oxygen regulator on here. Well, it's standard from Longevity. I mean, all they do is put out good stuff. So it's a little bit more money than your kind of average one that you would get out of China, but I've also read in a lot of the forums that people have had problems with oxygen regulators. Like, you do not want this thing leaking, and you also want to make sure that you have the proper flow. Otherwise, you're not getting the right concentration in here. You might be looking at the chart and thinking you're actually, sending in a certain concentration, and you've got a cheap regulator and it's leaking oxygen, which isn't feeding in here. Now you're not getting the right setting. So get a better oxygen regulator. I'll put the model numbers for all of these things in the description and on the video and that kind of stuff. So even for the tank, so you'll know what I've got here. So what I do is, when I'm going to set this thing up, I basically look at my chart here. This chart came with the ozone generator. There's also one right on top here, so if you ever lose this, you don't have to worry about it. But Dr. Frank Shallenberger suggests an ozone concentration of 25 to 45 micrograms per milliliter at a flow of 1/4 to 1/8. So I usually set this to 1/8, and I set this to 5. And if I look at my numbers on here, 5 and 1/8 is going to give me 30.1. So I'm kind of right in the middle of the 25 to 45. I'm at 30.1. So I'm kind of right in that area anyway. Now, just a note, if you are doing any ozone therapies and you want to learn more about ozone therapies, Dr. Frank Shallenberger is kind of like the guru on the planet. He's if you look on YouTube and stuff, you'll see he's got tons and tons of videos. Incredibly knowledgeable person in this whole area. He actually has a book out called The Ozone Miracle, which is available. I think it's available on Amazon.com. I'll put a link in the description below. And it's worth it to get that, because that'll actually give you the exact settings you need, the protocols to do the ozone sauna, to do ozone rectal insufflation, to do make ozonated water, any of those things. In fact, on that note, a lot of the other competing ozone saunas actually have the ozone generator built into the side of the unit, which doesn't make any sense, because heat kills ozone. And so if you've got it built into the side and it's heating up, you're never going to get an accurate amount of ozone coming out of it, because heat's killing off half the ozone as it comes out. So that's why I got a separate unit. Also, I actually do ozone rectal insufflation on a regular basis, and I make ozonated water. If you have the ozone generator built into your sauna, you can't do that. So never buy a sauna that has the ozone generator built into it. Just don't even go there. Get a separate unit. Okay, so from here, let's talk about how we get everything set up to get in there and have a sauna, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my water levels, you can see right there my water level, it says fill to red line, and it's about half full right now. So I'm going to fill that up first of all, and I'm going to make sure that I'm full of distilled water before I jump in. I'm going to close up the doors. I'm going to grab a towel that I can put over the top that I can use to, prevent the steam and the heat from coming out as I'm heating it up. The next thing I'll do is I'll turn on the remote control, and I'll crank that up to 30 minutes. That's usually what I do. And I'll check my temperature. I always have it set for 114 because that's the ultimate temperature that I want. This remote control is going to flip between two things. One of them is going to tell you how much time is left, and the other one's going to tell you internal temperature. So right now it's telling me there's 30 minutes left because I just set it, but it's also telling me it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside here. Now, I can change that between Fahrenheit and Celsius. I'm in Canada, it should be on Celsius, but we'll just leave it on Fahrenheit for now. So I'm going to let this thing run, and what I'm going to do is I'm usually going to go out and do some things for 10 or 15 minutes until it gets to around 100 degrees. And so when it gets to about 100 degrees, the first thing I'll do is I'll check my timer and make sure I've still got about 20 minutes worth of time. Otherwise I'll add time before I get in. And then as soon as I've done that, before I jump inside, I'll come over here and I'll open up my valve, okay? I'll open up that valve, and then what I'll do is I'll turn on the start button on the timer. And now this thing is going to be automatically shooting ozone into the side of the sauna for the next 18 minutes. And this thing's going to run for 20 minutes before the timer turns off. So what's going to happen as I'm sitting there and relaxing and enjoying it, and these things are counting down, I actually have another trick here. I usually do EWOT when I'm doing it. Well, not always, but quite often. So this is a Longevity Resources oxygen concentrator, which is going to, crank up. It's going to pull oxygen out of the air and concentrate it, and then feed it into this. So when I'm sitting in there and I'm having my ozone sauna, I'm also breathing in pure oxygen through this oxygen concentrator. It's fantastic. If you've ever looked into EWOT, E-W-O-T, exercise with oxygen training, this is really cool stuff. So as I'm sitting in there and it's counting down, and the first thing that's going to happen is when it gets down to the bottom of that 18 minutes, that timer is going to go off and it's going to shut off the ozone generator from generating ozone and blasting it into there. And then 2 minutes later, that timer is going to shut off as well because it was set at 20 minutes. Now once I'm done with this, of course this wouldn't be on the top because I'd be sitting in there with my head sticking out. So once I'm done with this, then I'm just going to come back. I'm going to climb out of the sauna. I usually have my little towel here where I have my mat where I have my sandals. And then I'll just wipe the whole thing down. I'll wipe the whole thing down with like a dry towel. And once it's completely dry and done, then I'll basically come over here and I will actually close the valve on here. I'll set my oxygen regulator back to 0, and I'll just turn the power off on the EXT120T Ultra. So that's it for my overview on how to set up one of these hyperthermic chambers or steam saunas to do ozone and even to add some EWOT oxygen concentration as well. I hope that helped, and if you're looking to buy an ozone sauna or even a steam sauna, I hope that my advice that I gave you was good, because I certainly have done a lot of homework on it, and I'm fairly educated, and again, I've used this for a year and a half now. I'm super happy with it. I don't think I could have been any happier with any other unit out there. So thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends. I'm going to leave links for all of this stuff down in the description. So if you want to know the model numbers for any of these things, it'll be in the description, including the link to Dr. Frank Shallenberger's book. Thanks for watching the video.